Testing 1.
Testing 2.
Testing 3.
Testing 4.
He's got it.
I've been waiting for that for a while. Every single podcast I watch, I'm like, yeah, I'm loving 4. I love this.
Have you been practicing?
I practiced in the car all the way here like this. Testing 4. Testing 4.
We should have thrown him under the bus and give him a different number.
Yeah, we could have. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, welcome to the Testing Podcast, where we're here to talk all things fertility, talk testicles, talk sperm, and we're joined by another guest, which we're really pleased to have in the studio, Lawrence Thor Stephen. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Honestly, I've been really excited. I've said this earlier, but I'm so excited to be here. I've been watching you guys for a while, and like some of the conversations that you guys have brought up have answered so many questions that I've had just as a viewer. So no, I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, brilliant. Well,
brilliant.
we've invited you on because, you know, you're a man that's been through it. It's kind of like one of our Testing Stories bonus episodes, but in the flesh. And, you know, you and I have spoken and I've got your story. These two have no idea what's going on.
No.
Yeah.
They have no idea what they've let themselves in
No,
for.
I just sort of like in the reception area there, I was just sort of like, I know you, I think I know you. No, I definitely don't know you. And then when you talked about your tree surgery, and I was going like, I do know you. I have watched you on Instagram.
The power of social media, right?
Honestly,
we know
it
each
is.
other's faces, but actually knowing each other properly. I'm really looking forward
really cool.
to learning more about your
It's
story.
about to get really intimate now, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we'll really know you by the end of this.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, honestly, thank you, mate, for taking the time out of your day, because I know how incredibly busy you are juggling a very successful tree surgery business.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're all busy, but like, you know, with stuff like this, there's just something. Obviously, you've got some things business and professional, and then you've just got some things passionate that no matter what happens, you just always have to make time for, don't you? Really.
Brilliant.
So like,
thank you so much.
yeah, I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. So if there's any way I can help before, after, during, or after, just let me know, because this is an amazing movement.
Yeah. Oh well, thank you. And that's one of the important things. Actually, is it's guys like you and Toby and all the others and all the guys that join us on the bonus testing stories. It's like, the more guys that open up and share their story, one, it helps break the stigma, and two, I think the big thing for me is it always helps one other man at very least talk about his story then to somebody else, and it really inspires them. So, but the other thing that was really interesting about your story is, you know, because you and I have spoken, is how you approached your fertility and what kind of happened, and the way in which you did things, because in some ways you're actually a shining example of how it should be done, and how that then kind of perhaps changed outcomes and changed things for you. So, God, I mean, where do we start?
I'm intrigued because I haven't heard this story.
I'll be honest,
so.
I can't take full responsibility for that. Like my wife, Natasha,
I know it's
like,
mainly
you not know
Natasha.
what it's like to have like an amazing wife on. Like you wouldn't be here if
I agree.
So like if I was to be able to say thank you to anyone for like the journey that we've been on, it's just Tash. It's just been amazing. She's there every single step of the way, you know.
And that's so common though. Actually, it's the women who go off and do the research that go on our Instagram channel, go on listen to our podcast.
60%, isn't it? About
60% of our Insta following is women.
Let's face it, us guys are rubbish at dealing with these things and even talking about it.
Terrible.
And which is why I'm so glad to have you on board on this podcast today, because actually, unless we don't start these conversations, then how is any other guy prepared to even open that conversation up themselves, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because us blokes are pretty poor.
Yeah, I mean, even like, you know, from you know, I don't think I'm anything special, but some people might see me as a successful businessman, and people look at you and you're a successful racing driver, and you guys are all successes in your own right. But to an everyday normal person, they like, you know, they just don't feel like they're special enough to look into this space or what have you. So when they start seeing people in elite places or in higher places or successful places, it normalizes it for them, because we're bringing it back into a normal space, aren't we? Into like, right, we can talk about this, versus it's not just something that's for the elite or for the rich or for what have you, because there are so many pathways out there available to people of all different economical like spaces, from all different parts of the country. Like it is available to you. It's just you just don't know it's available to you. You know, you just need to know exactly where to go, who to speak to, and just what support there is for someone like who have been victim to the things that we've been victim to. You know.
Yeah. And so when did it all start for you? When did you and Tash kind of start down the fertility road?
we started when we got married in June. Oh, this.
Maybe edit this bit out, shall we?
Yeah, snap this bit out. Tash, you didn't see this bit. It started in July. I think we got married in July 21.
Do you want me to check? Because you texted
can you
me
just
the
check
full...
no, I'm joking. We got to check the notes. Yeah, so July 21 we started. So we got married in July 21, and straight away we start trying, and we were trying for a period of time, and again, that's just from not knowing. You expect it to take, I don't know, 3, 6, 8 months, maybe a year. So you're normally trying for about a year. I thought maybe a year is a fair amount of time to be trying. 8 months went by, and Tasha was just like something's not right. Like something is not right. And I'm just like, babe, what are you talking about? Like, it's just 8 months. Like, just give it a few more. No, something's not right. It just doesn't feel right. And I'm just like, all right, fine. So we went to, so 8 months went by from July to then, and we went to a local fertility clinic, and I didn't even know there was one local to us, but there was one probably about 15 minutes down the road from us. And she got all of the testing, absolutely everything you could get done, from bloods all the way through to testing her hormones and, just everything she got checked through. And then there was the last bit that we've got, and it's just like, we just you've got to turn up one day, spunk in a cup, and then give it a few hours, give it half an hour or so, or an hour, and come back, and they'll talk through all of the results for us. I remember going back in, and me just thinking, this is a complete waste of time. But you know what? I've got to go. Let's just go and support Tash and just let her know that there's nothing wrong with her. And I remember making my way back, because they said, go away for a couple of hours. We'll analyze the results, come back, and we'll go through your results. And so we drove back, and I remember walking up to the reception, and then between the reception and the clinic room, the consulting room, where someone was going to be there to give us the results. All I was thinking in that moment, I don't know what it was, but I just had an overwhelming rush of just, please, like, if there is a God out there, and I'm praying, and I'm not even religious, I'm thinking, if there is a God, please let there be nothing wrong with Tash. Please, just, I'm hoping, just let there be nothing wrong, so then we can just carry on with our journey. And even when we was in the consultation room, so we sit down, we're talking with the consultant. And so she goes through all Natasha's results, and there's this big sheet of paper, and there's all this data on there, and you're not going to make sense of this data.
Oh, God,
it's just too much information,
way over your head, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah, it's so much information. So we're looking through it, and it was like, yep, this is fine. Your hormones are fine. Your eggs are fine. Everything is absolutely fine with you. There's absolutely no problems. And I'm like, see, I'm thinking in my head, great. And then she goes, but we just want to talk about Lawrence's results. I was like, okay, here we go. And she goes, so Lawrence has got an extremely low sperm count. Like, it's actually morbidly low. You're actually probably never going to be able to have kids, naturally.
Oh my God. So and that's devastating straight away, isn't it?
And then after that, like, literally, even though they carried on talking, just in that moment, everything just sounded like white noise. I was just literally sitting in that room, and I was just like, and it was like, it was the strangest feeling. It was just when you just hear that ringing noise in your ear, if someone was to slap your ear and you just get a ring, that was all it was. That's all I can remember it being. And from that moment on, I had an extremely low sperm count. Again, don't get me caught up with the numbers, but I'm pretty sure you could check the notes. But I think I had 100,000 sperms, 5% concentration, and then 2% of that was the mobility was 2%. Right. So it was like it was pretty low. It was really low. Mm-hmm. But even those numbers just didn't make sense to me. I had nothing to reference it against. They normally give you they reference it against like the World Health Organization, the WHO guidelines. Yeah. Which again, arguably is probably not something to go off of the back of. I don't know. But then it's just like, everything came, and there was no pathway for me after that. It was literally right. You've got a low sperm count. This is what it is. You're not going to be able to have kids naturally. Here's our IVF leaflet, and then out the door.
Gosh.
How did you feel at that point?
I felt like vulnerable. I felt lonely. I don't want to say suicidal. I've never felt the word. I don't like the word suicidal, but I could feel like that was probably the closest to what that feeling would be. I didn't think, right, I'm going to find a tall building and jump off it, or I want to take a load of drugs. But it was just like a really horrible, lonely place to be. You know, you go to a place like that for answers, you walk out with more questions.
And no support.
No support other than your wife. And Tasha, bless her, like she's been like an unbelievable support like vessel for me through this whole journey. But it's like it's almost like, I don't know, like I'm not rich, but I've got money. You know, I'm not an athlete, but I've got good health. You know, I'm not like extremely happy, but I'm generally happy. You know, so like when it comes to health, wealth, love, and happiness, like those four pillars are all satisfied. So you kind of go, right, what's next in life? And it's normally like, for some, it might be to have children. You know, like I had a challenging upbringing, and you know, and that's for another podcast. But like, you just want to be a good father after that, don't you? You want to just you want to be able to pass your wisdom and love something else that's more important to you. So in that moment when that's taken away from you, just in that consultation room, it's like you just feel so vulnerable with no answers. And Tasha's the whole journey back was, don't worry, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out. And I'm just like, and again, everything after that, for that whole rest of that day was just white noise. I just wanted to just find a dark corner and just disappear for like 6 months. I just wanted to just be gone. Yeah. I didn't want to be anyone's problem. I was probably a problem to myself in that moment. It's like, I mean, how did you feel when you found out?
Well, I didn't quite have low sperm count, but I had obviously high DNA fragmentation. We'll talk about a bit more about that in the episode, but very much the same feeling. By that point, I'd had 2 rounds of IVF, 2 losses, and I felt this almighty like dread, literally like guilt that Katie had gone through all what she'd gone through, all the hormone drugs, the fact that
because that's brutal, isn't it? What they go through,
real tough.
Man, that is so brutal. Like I love my wife, but like the things that she had to go through, just to make IVF available, like just to put the eggs on the counter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's an amazing journey, isn't it? And it is so incredibly draining, emotionally draining from start to finish of that process of just getting to that egg collection before you do anything else with them. It is so mentally draining, and it's mentally draining for both partners, because you see it, don't you, as a partner, thinking, oh my goodness, there's a whole string of injections here and I'm going to have to, you know,
and I don't know how to support her. I have no idea how to support her. You know, like we'd been married for 2 years at that point. And we're still trying to figure things out as a married couple. Let alone try and figure out, you know, like the fertility thing and how to support her, what to say, what not to say, how to say it, you know, and everybody's having kids around you. The moment you try for a baby or try for a child,
it's in your face, right?
Everything, like, it's like, it's like you weren't watching this stuff before, but now everyone's you're trying to be happy for your friends, but like, you know, but there are the challenges of what you can't have. So you try to, so, you know, it's like a massive. So you're just trying to support. We're trying to support our wives, and in some ways we don't know how, because we're trying to still hold ourselves up.
Well, I think I'm just coming back to what that feeling was when you got that diagnosis, because I know Toby, you had a different diagnosis. I had the same diagnosis as you. So, you know, not being able to have sperm in your ejaculate, this term azoospermia, and so forth. Oh my God, how devastating that is to you as a man, and because it completely emasculates you straight away, like that. It's a snap gone. Your life, your continuity of life in your genes has gone. At
least it's perceived to be that way, right? In that moment. And that's the bit that's where it shouldn't stop, because actually the situation has led us to feel that way, but actually the reality is there's so many options out there.
Absolutely. And I think just coming back to the way in which sort of clinics handle that communication with you know, you guys as a couple, but you as an individual as well, I think there's a huge gap there. And I think what we need to recognise is that if guys go out of that clinic with this diagnosis, oh my God, you know, what could they do with that diagnosis? Because at that point, your mental health has gone from pretty good down to the floor.
Yeah.
It is absolutely on the floor. And just like you said earlier on about wanting to just, sit in the corner, it could turn people to drink, it could turn people to violence, it could we hear all of these stories, and I think what's really important when physicians are sharing not so good news, and it's not just not so good news, it's devastating news. Let's face it. It's life-changing news. It needs a level of support, and it's not necessarily right there and then, but you need to be able to be supported.
It shouldn't just be an IVF leaflet, should it?
It's not an IVF.
No.
IVF is not a treatment for
come
you
back with
having
your credit
poor sperm analysis.
Yeah.
It's not. It's absolutely not.
Yeah, but I think leading up to that point is that you've gone there to hope that there's nothing wrong with your partner, right? Like the assumption, I don't know if it's a society thing, perhaps it's the medicine world, but the assumption is there's going to be a problem with the female partner. Yeah. And so I think they're prepared for bad news. I think they go into it with the preparation that actually, there might be something wrong with me because I've had all these tests done. One of them's probably not going to be okay. But I think us guys, we walk into that room with just the perception of, well, I'll have sperm. I'll be okay.
Do you think it's because they talk about it? Do you think it's genuine? I think part of that is because they actually talk about it.
Yeah.
And us as men, we just don't talk about it.
No. But society doesn't make us believe that we would ever have a problem.
Yeah.
You don't see, well, you do now because we exist, but you don't see much saying it's a male factor. It could be you. In fact, it's just as likely to be you as it is the woman. The whole industry, everything, education is all about female fertility. So you're walking down that corridor, you're just worrying about Tash. You weren't thinking, I wonder if it could be me.
Yeah. Because we've seen the sperm come out and we've seen it hit the cup. So we're like,
there's got to be something there.
Done it. Do you know what I mean? Again, so you just look at, but you don't realise it's not that bit, it's what's inside that bit. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, just because there's sperm in the cup doesn't mean there's soldiers swimming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so true,
And there could be no sperm. It could actually just be seminal fluid. So you can't see it. So kind of, you got back after that, kind of what happened over the next kind of few months? I mean,
I actually remember saying to Tash, just give me some space. I just want space. I was like, just stop, because she was just like, there's this and there's that and there's this, and she was a magician with all of the things that she would throw at me. There's this podcast, there's this research, there's this person, there's this clinician, she came up with, your trousers are too tight. You wear and literally, bro. If I pull out the list of the things that she made me do, after doing all of the research, it was like it was brutal, but it was essential. Yeah. And and there are so many things that we can do, but in that moment, all I just wanted to do is I think I just wanted some alone time. I just wanted some time to just digest the news. I think that was a big, powerful lesson for me, both in life and in business, was everything started to slow down a lot more for me after that. And actually, I put a post out about this the other day, and saying to people, good leadership is not reacting in that moment. It's actually slowing things down. And if you can slow things down in your mind and in reality, you're actually in a much more powerful place to be, because you're not responding emotionally.
Yeah.
You're actually giving yourself space to react logically. So I think and that was a really good moment for me to practice that and learn that and embrace that as part of what my character is now in leadership and in business, as well as in life now. It's just this isn't a problem that needs to be solved now. It's okay in the moment to not feel okay. Just don't give yourself too much time, because it will just go down you'll go down a rabbit hole. But I just said to Tasha, just give me 6 months. I just want 6 months. Well, actually, I ended up saying just give me a couple of weeks, and then a couple of weeks turned to a couple of months. And then I was just constantly saying to her, babe, just leave it alone, leave it alone, leave it alone. And I was turning up to meetings. I had a meeting. I know one of your guests was Melanie Brown. She's amazing. Literally, I owe so much to that woman. She's just, I don't know how.
She's brilliant. She's ace. Yeah.
She's
love Mel.
Unreal. She's unreal. I think the moment, because I was even saying to Tash, please just give me some space. And even when we went in for Melanie Brown, we went to the London clinic, I think, to go see her or something. And Melanie actually ended up pulling, so it's me, Tasha, and Melanie. And Tasha's going, Melanie, tell him this, Melanie, tell him that. And she was just it ended up being a counselling meeting rather than an actual nutritional meeting or lifestyle meeting. Yeah. I think Tasha broke down and cried her eyes out for probably about 20 minutes of that whole meeting. Melanie was consulting her, and I think it was the reason why Melanie was great was because she is brilliant at what she does, and Natasha knew that Melanie's brilliant at what she does. So whatever comes out of that meeting, before we even went in, Tasha trusted the process, right? She just trusted it. Yeah. So we went in there and Tasha was thinking she was going to talk about the trousers. She was going to talk about my diet. You know, I found out that I was pre-diabetic through all the blood tests and stuff that we ended up doing before that. So, you know, there were so many things that were in the way of my, and you know, but actually the whole meeting was just, I would say 80% of that meeting was about Melanie telling Tasha to just chill out.
Just chill.
Right. Just chill out.
I can hear that they were about,
leave him alone.
Yeah.
He's like, he needs time to digest
He's
this.
wounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he's got Mr. Ramsey on his side. Maybe you should not go to the next meeting with Mr. Ramsey and just let Lawrence go by himself.
Oh, interesting.
And that was like a real, like, that was like, if she already had 4 daggers in her gut, that was like the big, like, that was the samurai sword slicing her open. Yeah. Because she's like, because sometimes being there for someone is just being there but not doing anything. Sometimes it's just be present. Just be in a room. Sometimes you don't even need to talk. I know that you're there, but I just need some time by myself to digest this news, because I've just found out some potentially life-changing news that I may never have children again. And I was telling myself that as well. I'm never going to have children. Like, I can't conceive children.
It's a proper scary concept.
Because actually also, an interesting point going back to that consultation, and I've had patients that I've worked with in the past where they've had that narrative or that little phrase that's come out of a consultant's mouth of, it's going to be really hard for you to have children, or you're never going to have children. You know, I remember a lady I worked with many, many years ago who had PCOS, and after weeks of treating her or working with her, we got to the conversation that she'd had with the consultant, and the consultant said, it's highly unlikely or very unlikely you're ever going to have children naturally. So that was the narrative she had in her head.
The naturally bit is the bit that they forget. Yeah. Sometimes they don't say that bit. So they say you're never going to have children. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah,
no, but actually, naturally, they don't. Yeah, they don't. It's not. You know, they don't know where technology is going to be in the next few months, years coming from now. They're speaking from their own, you know, very small peephole of their clinic, of that result in that
only
moment.
Of their own experience as well.
Yeah,
because often they don't see the wider experience. They don't acknowledge some of the wider experience or technologies that are out there as well. So
it was such. Yeah, I mean that moment. I mean, obviously we've come out the other side of it now, and hopefully praise to God that we that obviously Tasha's pregnant now, which is brilliant news. We've just found out we're having a baby girl, which is amazing. She's 17 weeks in. We've got a little girl on the way, which is like the best news ever. But so if there's anyone listening who's been anywhere near where I've been, or where where you've gone in, so you can't have kids, your sperm count's really low, you're in that low, it's literally been 2 years from then to now. I'm like a walking like example of the fact that things can change and turn around so quickly.
And what happened? This is the key thing.
Yeah.
What happened between what happened between there and now, 17 weeks pregnant, and how did you eventually get yourself out of this hole? You know, how much time did you need, and was there a point that you're like, okay, I've got to sort this shit out?
I think the turning point, one of the big turning points was seeing Mr. Ramsey. That was for me.
It's a lot of people's turning points.
Yeah.
They all
literally like, you know, and I know he's probably going to watch this, so I don't want to take the mick out of him too much, but this guy is just like, you walk into his office and he's just so chilled out, and like everything. Time that you walk in and everything slows down. And even though like you've got, Tasha had like a when we walked into his consultation room, she had a massive book of like every bit of everything that's happened, all of my results, all of her research. He actually called her Professor Natasha. Like he literally said, but her nickname in that consultation was Professor Natasha, because she'd done all of the research. But all he wanted to do was just have a look at one sheet, which was my results, and he was just like, right, okay, cool. And then he put it down. They did that flick thing that we know that he does.
His famous flick.
Just throws it on the and he just turns his table, and like he literally like. He practically lies down on his chair, doesn't he?
Yeah, so like, slide off any
literally
moment.
Like, it's like I don't know if people are going to be watching this, but it's like and Mr. Ramsey, I'm sorry, but like it's literally like just, and he's got his glasses, doesn't he? And he's just so cool and just chilled out. Everything slows down. Nothing matters.
Yeah.
Because he knows that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Looks through the results. Cool. Yep. No, we can this is definitely something to work with, because he just knows all he needs is that little something, just something to know what he can work with, right? And then once he knows that he can work with it, then it's just a small thing. And it was like, even if we can improve the parameters by a tiny bit here and a tiny bit there and a tiny bit there, which is easily achievable, there is a chance that you'll be able to conceive naturally.
Wow.
And like when he said that, it was just like,
What?
I was like, is this guy just trying to get my money? Or because at that point you've already convinced yourself you're not, right? So like, you know, but then the more he talks about it and the more he opens up and he explains a little bit more, he looked through all the results, because before that we went to, so I'll explain the pathway of how I actually ended up getting into Mr. Ramsey's room. So after we got the results, went into my little moment of like loneliness and just sort of like just no answers and just wanted to crawl into a hole. From that point on, I then went to the GP. I think the GP were to get like a load of results, so maybe just some blood tests and stuff to see if there was anything. And then we also, I was experiencing like a little bit of pain or like a numbing thing in my testicles. So it's just like, so they forwarded us through to I don't know what the department is for, like
ultrasound.
Yeah, the ultrasound.
Yeah.
So, you know, a couple of weeks on, went to the ultrasound. And this guy, like, you know, you drop your trousers, you get your testicles out, and this guy's rubbing it up with his cold cream. And like, you know, meanwhile, like, you're just trying to like make sure that you're just nothing, you're not going to get aroused at all, even though it's this big, like, this is just big black guy rubbing your balls.
Just look away.
Yeah, just look away and imagine something, just So, and then they pulled the
I love this. This is the most honest interview we've ever had.
Literally, bro. It's just like he just slaps on this flipping see-through cream and just like starts rubbing your testicles up with this instrument, and then results come out after, and they were like, I was like, and literally while you're lying on the table, you're trying to look at the screen, and there's a little like something there, and I was like, oh, like, is that anything to worry about? He's like, no, it's just a small cyst. Everyone has one. There's nothing to worry about. It's completely normal. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, because I was thinking, is it cancer? The moment you see just anything on that screen.
100%. Yeah, I've been there.
I'm thinking to myself, is it cancer? And he's like, no, it's not cancer. It's absolutely fine. It's a cyst. A lot of men have them. And there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to do, nothing to treat. So I was just like, okay, cool. Walk out. And then from that point on, Tasha doing more research, and then she found Mr. Ramsey. Yeah, she found Mr. Ramsey. We then went to Mr. Ramsey for that appointment, and that's where I just, you know, we walk in and he's just super chilled out, looks at the results from blood tests, looks at the results from the ultrasound, and I mentioned to him about the small cyst, and he's like, okay, well, he goes, well, get him out then. And I'm like, what do you mean, like, get them out? You know, he's like, well, just do you need me to drop your pants? So he drops he puts the curtain around me, even though my wife's seen my balls like almost every other day. Do you know what I mean?
He's
so
super
like,
respectful like that then.
Yeah. So he drops the balls, and he's just like, just these magic hands. He's just got his magic hands out, and he's just literally cupping my balls, like, pause. I know I can't be
So for anybody that's not watching this, there's some great animation going on here.
Yeah. So like
You're taking me back right now.
Yeah, literally, he's just cupping my balls, and he's like picking them up and putting them down, and picking them up and putting them down. He's like, yeah. Can you cough? Can you cough? And I'm like, like this, and he's like, yeah, I see what we're dealing with here. I'm like, okay, great. He goes, yeah, pull them up, and we'll so we opened the curtains back up, and he's just like, I think you've got a varicocele. And I'm like, oh, really? What, you and your magical hands think that I've got a... Okay, great, but cool. I'm going to ride with that. He goes, if you just go across the corridor, we can go do an ultrasound now for you. One of the clinicians will be over there waiting for you, and we'll have a look. He'll get the results, and we'll come back in about 10 minutes, and we'll analyze your results. Literally within half an hour, I'd already been seen, like literally just walked across the corridor to where he is at the London clinic. Yeah. Saw his colleague. You know, he did got the gel out, rubbing my testicles up. I've got this Indian guy rubbing my testicles now, and yeah, so he's just, you know, he's doing his magic, and then he said, yeah, And I was like, oh, is there anything there? He was like, yeah, there's a few bits there, but we'll explain it in the consultation. I was like, okay, great. But at that moment, I already felt safe because the speed from which we went from a consultation room to actually being assessed to then going back into the consultation room to get answers. Like some people in the NHS, you'd wait. You wouldn't get that in a year.
No.
It'd take months,
literally
months,
a year
months to get that. Just throw on a piece of paper.
Yeah, literally. And went back into the office and Mr. Ramsey was like, yeah, well, we've got some answers, some clear answers, and this would explain a lot of what's going on. You've got a varicocele. And I was like, oh, okay, well, so what's a varicocele? I wasn't sure about it. And he explained a little bit more about what it was. He gave me some paperwork to leave with, and he said, look, we'll just get you booked in for you to get your varicocele treatment sorted. Lucky enough, I'm fortunate enough that we have private health insurance. I give all my team, all my staff private health insurance working for my company. So that was able to kick in because actually it's not a fertility conversation. It's a varicocele conversation.
It's a medical diagnosis.
It's a medical diagnosis and it needs to be treated. So because I've got private medical insurance, like you literally just get pushed right up the queue, like very quickly. I had the embolisation surgery probably within about 3 weeks from that moment.
So efficient, isn't it?
That is really quick.
3 weeks from then, and I remember lying on that. Did you had a varicocele?
Yeah, I had it. Yeah.
Did you go with embolisation?
You're taking me back. You're literally taking me back.
You got the same surgeon, haven't you?
I think we've got the same surgeon. Did you have Mr. Mose?
This
Dr.
is like
Mose?
top trumps, isn't there, right now?
Yeah. So,
no top trumps though. You're on an even par.
Well, I had bilateral. Did you have bilateral?
I did.
Oh, did you? Oh, man, he shot me down.
There's a fist bump.
Bilateral gang. So I remember lying on the table with Mr. Mose, and I was like, I was expecting to be like go under general. I thought he was going to go under general, but completely awake for all of it, just lying on an operating table.
How was you leading up to that surgery?
I think I was just, I'm really good at just like hiding my emotions. Like I'm just like super cool. For me, it just wasn't really a big, everything happened so quickly.
Yeah.
From leaving Mr. Ramsey's clinic, it just happened so quickly that I didn't even have time to process any of the emotions at all.
Yeah.
So for me, I was just like, yeah, it's cool. Surgery, all right, fine. I knew we weren't going to feel any of it. Apparently, they're just going to make a little incision and everything's going to be. And I was like, cool. So I didn't prepare myself. I didn't ask too many questions. Tasha knew everything, of course, about everything that's going to happen.
She looked it all up.
She looked it all up. She was. I think it got to a point where I just trusted her.
Yeah.
Right.
It just got to a point where I was just like, look, I trust Tash. Whatever she wants me to do, I'll just do. It's going to make her happy, and it's also going to make me happy. It's for the greater good, and hopefully one day we'll have it happily ever after. But there's no promises. At least I know I tried everything that I could try.
Best way of looking at it.
Yeah, and I remember lying on that theatre table, Mr. Moser with with all these instruments, and he's got all these amazing team running around everywhere.
It's awesome. Yeah.
And there's a screen there that you can kind of see half a little bit of, but you can't see too much of. Yeah. And he's like, he's put this he's basically got these cables that he's running through your body, hasn't he? And he's just like, and he's just looking up at it, and I said to him, we're having some quite intimate conversations with each other whilst I'm lying on the table and he's fully operating on my testicles. And I was like, so how do you know where to go? And he was like, literally, it's like the M25, mate. Like I know which exit I need to get off. I know, it's like, he knows
there, is there?
No, but he knows it all off by heart. He knows, some people have embolisation going through this, through your neck, through your jugular. Some people have it going through, but he was like, I know exactly where I need to go. I know exactly how I need to get there. It's almost like, I don't know where I'm from. It's trying to get to Palmer's Green from Winchmore Hill, and if you can't go through that way, you'll go down that way. And if you can't go that way. Yeah. So he knows all of the routes.
Like a London taxi driver.
Literally, he's like the taxi driver of testicles. Yeah.
I like that.
But it's not only varicocele that he does.
No, he does all sorts of
you could do so much stuff with the technology out there. It's unreal what you can do.
It blew my mind actually sat in that theatre, to be fair, just how skilled he is, but all that machinery, that equipment is insane, isn't it?
It's crazy, bro. It's insane. So and then and as he's going through and he's looking at it on the screen, he's like, actually, I'm looking at this. You've actually got a bilateral, because I thought I just had a single varicocele, and he's like, you've actually got a bilateral varicocele, and I was like, oh right. So what do I have to come back for this? And he was like, no, I looked at your notes before we came in. I can see who you're insured by, WPA. They're brilliant when it comes to paying out, like, and they're very good when it comes to, you know, clinicians' notes and why we do things. He's like, I'm just going to do it now and just get it dealt with. Right. And so he did all these stuff. I don't know how long it took. It's probably about an hour. No, it's probably about half an hour, I think. I'm not sure. And do you know when they like block it all up?
Oh, the paint stripper. Yeah, calls it.
Bro, that was
that's the worst bit, right?
Man, I actually started crying. I was crying. Did you cry? Yeah. Bro, I was crying on the theatre table, of like, but it was like an overwhelming feeling of like, this is finally over. I think that was the moment for me when everything started to come in, when everything started making sense. Like, you know, when like you feel like there's a way out now, it's finally over. Like every part of the emotion as to from when finding out the news up to that point there, if there was any emotion you should have felt, I should have felt in that moment, I didn't. But the moment he did that, I just cried my eyes out.
Cork in the bottle, wasn't it?
Yeah. And once the waterworks was open, I was bawling my eyes out like a little boy, and I had no idea why I was crying. But now I'm crying, just let it out. And he was really reassuring. He was really like sympathetic and empathetic to the situation. He was just like, mate, it's completely normal. Just let it out. Just do what you like. And even when I was like, even because I knew Tasha was going to be waiting for me in the room when I was out. And I remember just praying to myself, just saying like, please don't let Tasha be in that room. Just don't. Like, I don't want her to see me like this. I don't want her to see me like all crying and emotional. I was just hoping that she was going to be out, like going to get us some food or something ready for, because I think they expected the surgery to be about an hour. I think it probably took about half an hour or something. So lucky enough, she wasn't actually in that room, because you just feel, in that moment, I just felt so vulnerable. Yeah. Did you feel vulnerable?
Exactly that. Yeah, I remember kind of the sort of floodgates opening when I come out of theatre. So I actually did it at the back of the pandemic. So I went back to my recovery room, like completely on my own, and my partner was travelling up to come and pick me up actually. And I actually vlogged it. There's an episode on my YouTube channel where I just put the camera on record and was just like, that's it. Like, I know I've done everything I could possibly do at that point. And similar to you, I kind of held my emotions so strong until that point that I realised that at that moment, there's nothing more I can do. The control's out of my own hands. And this will either be me being a dad, it's worked, or it won't be. And I was in bits, just like you. I was literally just could not stop crying.
Yeah.
You just bottle it up, don't you? It's all pent up inside you, I think.
Yeah, and like, obviously it's normal, right? Do you know what I mean? Obviously it's normal for us to do that.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think I've ever felt like that my whole life. And I've gone through some real traumatic places as a child. But when you're an adult, you don't think that you're ever going to go into that vulnerable space again. True. Especially not voluntarily. Yeah. You know, most situations you might be able to like, you know, if you're a successful entrepreneur, I know it sounds really arsey, but you can kind of buy yourself out of most situations if you really need to. I mean, if you don't want to stand in a queue, you can get something, you can go somewhere else.
Just throw some money at it.
Yeah, or like, you know, or I've got so many people that I love and appreciate, and so many connections. Someone might be able to help me out here and there. No one's helping you out in that situation. No, there is nothing. Yeah. There's no money. There's no people. There's no person that's going to get you out of that vulnerable, that in that space that you have to try and make sense of. Yeah, and like. And it's like it's humbling in the same way, because you're just like, you don't know what to say, you don't know what to feel, you don't know who to tell, you don't know what's going to happen. There's no promised land at the end of it. It's kind of like it all went well when they came in and he had a chat. Because you just, and also even the pants that you're sitting in, innit? Like, have you seen theatre pants?
They're beautiful.
Man, they're like, I can't show you a picture because you can pretty much see everything. But like, they're like just nets, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're like nets, and it's like one size fits all net as well. Yeah. So like, this is gonna fit a 50 kilogram man and like a 10 kilogram man, and it stretches all the way out. And the bigger you are, the more holes there are in these pants. Yeah. And your ass is showing. You're in this gown. So like, if you felt vulnerable emotionally, physically, you look vulnerable too. Do you know what I mean? Like, but
it's so great you're normalising this, because actually these are all the things that guys that are going to have varicocele surgery really need to listen to. Because actually, I think it's nice to hear a bit of reality, because when you go into that environment, that might be your first time experiencing that, and actually I think sometimes it's nice to know a little bit about it in the first place.
There's a lot of guys that are really worried about
well, they think they can have their testicles operated on.
I think they do.
That's what they think. They don't realise that it's not actually a testicular operation per se. They're actually going in through the blood vessels to block off blood vessels, and they're the blood vessels that go to your testicles and maybe very near them, but they're not cutting your scrotum
they're not
up.
Cutting they're not cutting your dick off. They're not cutting your testicles off. Like, don't worry, you're still gonna have that sensation. It's not gonna disappear. But it's just like, I mean, even now, look, I've gone through the whole surgery. I've come out the other side. Everything's great. I think part of that emotion is gratitude as well.
Massive.
I think you're just grateful. I think like I have to tuck that part into that overwhelming feeling. The overwhelming feeling is worry, fear, gratitude, your
Did you feel relief as well?
Relieved. That's a massive part of the emotion.
That relief of actually, getting yourself through that process, because there's a lot of mental build-up before going through a procedure like that. There is.
Even if you internalise it.
Even if you internalise it, your stress levels are really, really high. I remember when I went for a microtesia and I was like absolutely shitting myself, if I can say that.
You can say that.
I was going to say we're allowed to swear because this is the best podcast I've ever done. I'm just going to watch this and be like, see, you don't have to swear in every sentence.
But it's true. Your vulnerability is right there, and you're really, really stressed. You don't know what the end result is going to be. But when you actually get told, when I had to come round because I had a general anaesthetic, but when it comes round and you go like, how was it? And you go, it's fine. And you just have that reassuring, and I had it with Mr. Ramsey as well. It's fine. That just overwhelming reassurance. Fine, you're in good hands, and you're going like, phew. And then you go like, oh my God, that wave of emotion just hits you, doesn't it?
It's like you could literally, we could literally sit here for hours of every emotion that goes through your moment in that moment. And that's what leads to just this rush. And it's actually pain. It is a little bit of a pain. Is it like a numbing pain? What would you say it was? It was almost like it felt like I had like two midgets hanging off my testicles for about 10 minutes. Like just literally just.
Have you had two midgets hanging off your testicles before?
No, I haven't. But if I did, I think that's probably what it felt. That's another podcast.
Klingons on the starboard bow. And, that's a different.
There's literally like someone was just like, I don't know. It felt like it was like dragging. A tugging.
I remember the paint stripper thing being injected in. I think the worst bit for me was initially like the fear of it, because I'm terrible with needles and blood and stuff like that, so I like almost wanted to pass out. But so the injection, the local anaesthetic at first was like pretty rubbish. Didn't feel anything throughout the process other than like something moving, but couldn't really put my finger on it. But for me, it was once the platinum coils were in, to obviously block off the veins, they put that paint stripper stuff in. To me, that bit was just like, that was really bad. I remember Stephen saying to me, look, it will feel like you've been kicked in the balls. It will gain in its pain,
get worse,
and then it will ease off. And I remember him sort of saying, okay, well, I've been kicked in the balls a few times, I play football, I know what to expect. But genuinely, that was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. It was weird because it was like psychologically.
We're trying to make this okay for men to go and get
checks.
But
I think it's good to expectations. It's actually okay to have this procedure done.
But I think what was weird for me was, I don't think it was so much the pain of it. It was the fact that like I felt like I'd been kicked in the nuts, but no one had kicked me in the nuts. So my brain was like, what's going on right now? What's happening? And that was a bit weird for me. And I think perhaps that accentuated the pain more than it needed to, and the fact that you couldn't curl up in a ball because you're in this.
Do you know what? If I'd known what we know now, like what people are going to hopefully hear, I think we would have been better prepared for it.
100%. Yeah,
I think we would have been better prepared, and I think I would have been like, okay, this is that moment that they were talking about when two midgets are going to hang off my testicles, or when like, someone's going to kick me in the balls. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but they haven't.
But they haven't.
It's going to be one of them. If you know, you know moments. I think we'll have people reach out to us on Instagram. Or
I hope they do, man. I hope they do, because it's like it needs to be this whole fertility, varicocele, it needs to be normalized.
100%, yeah.
In the moment it's normalized, people know what to expect. They'll know what surgeons are out there, where you can go, where you can get support. So like, that was a big part for me. And then coming out of that, I wasn't worried about anything else after that.
Yes,
but Tash was. She just wanted to make sure that the coils haven't moved. Now, Dr. Moses said, they're not going to move. Like where I've locked them in, they ain't going to move. But Tash was like, are you sure? Are you sure? And I was just like, yeah, because slowly your blood vessels start to die off, don't they? They start to disappear.
Yeah.
Over a period of time, once he's engaged those coils, and Tash was just like, no, I'm not quite sure about this. So the thing that separates Dr. Moser from what I think the rest of the NHS treatment would be, is he just said he was like, look, if you're worried, come in and I'll check you over in between my patients. So just come in, go into that room. It's going to be very quick, 5 minutes. You just lie down on the fig, get your testicles out, and he'll just run run it over you again. Get the gel out again.
Is this where you now? He goes regular.
Yeah.
I kind of went, but I mean,
he's starting to love this gel.
I think I think it started to get a little bit quite too intimate for me and Mr. Moser, really. No, but I think and like he just quickly checked me over and was just like, and that was the above and beyond thing. He didn't have to do that.
That's the reassurance that you really need, isn't
and
it?
he was like, literally, I was on FaceTime with Tash whilst he's doing it, and she's like, is there anything up? And he was like, everything's completely normal, nothing to worry about. And from that moment on, we actually ended up gaining a really good friendship with Mr. Moser. Did you keep in touch with him?
I've still got a good relationship with him now. Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's definitely someone you should get on this podcast. I think he'd be.
Oh, we will.
We will.
He's on our list.
Yeah, he's amazing. And did you ever go around his house though? Obviously, we're playing proper Trump cards.
Here we go.
I've had the invite, but I didn't get to go.
Oh, right, cool. So he didn't get a because
he's playing hard to get.
He talked to me about the pizzas. Yeah, he's got his own pizza oven.
How good are they?
Man, bro, his pizzas are unreal.
Seriously.
They're so good. He makes his own dough. He gets all his kids involved. He's got a beautiful family, a lovely family.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And he doesn't live too far from where we like to go out for food in Watford. And he's just like, I don't know where. I think that just the whole experience from start to finish, I'm so grateful for what I've been exposed to, for the people that I've been presented with, the people I've been able to help. The people that have openly reached out to me, like you've got quite a big social media following. Mine's pretty big as well, and like the stories that come through, I try and respond back to every single one of them. Like I don't think, like if I can, and obviously I've still got a very busy business to run on the side, but when these men that reach out to us, I'm so grateful that they even just that they're coming out to ask for help, let alone asking for help or advice from me.
Yeah, because it's like you're giving a bit back, doesn't it? It means a lot to give that back.
Yeah, and I don't even type anymore. Now I just send videos. It's actually just easier to just reply back with a video. Because if I type it out, it just takes me like 15-20 minutes. If I reply with a video, it's like a 2-minute video, send it, done, So like, so after Mr. Moser, I had and then we had another exam. So I had another, because the varicocele was a huge part what was inhibiting like my sperm parameters. Yeah. Like I think I don't know, because I'd have to look at my notes, but I'm pretty sure that after we had, so I went from 100,000
to 3.5 million.
Was it 3.5 million?
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a
massive jump, right? Yeah. So it was 3.5 million. What does it say? Because this is all Tasha's notes, yeah. So like, because I know nothing. So 3.5 million motility, 40% morphology. 40% motility, and then morphology retained at 2%, remained at 2%. So it had gone up like unreal. Like,
yeah, big uptake.
That's crazy. 3.5 million from 100,000.
Yeah. 30 times improvement.
Yeah. From a simple surgery.
From just blocking a few blood vessels.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you think how simple that all is, like, let's break it down, right? So basically you've got large veins in your testes, making your balls a bit too hot. They're blocking them off, less blood, slightly cooling your nuts, and then giving some recovery time, and you've pretty much like 30x like your outcome.
Bro, like, but just let's be honest. How was your like partner quite involved in?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, great. Like, how bad did it get with her? Like, did she like?
Well, I quite similar to Tash, to be fair.
Did she have thermometers and stuff like?
No, I didn't get that hard.
Bro,
didn't get that hard. No. Well, I remember after the surgery, so I'd come home, and I don't think I actually made the stairs to get to bed that night because I was really sore. I think my surgery took about 2.5 hours. Stephen said to me, actually, there's one in every so many cases. He's talking hundreds. He gets a complicated case where the M25 roads are blocked off and a little bit trickier to navigate.
Mine was like that. Yeah.
So I think mine was like 2 and a bit hours, something like that, on the surgery. Wow. And so the next like sort of that evening, I remember feeling really bruised, couldn't walk up the stairs. And anyway, me and Katie slept on the sofa that night. And I woke up in the morning and I woke up with my balls feeling lighter. That's the only thing I can describe, was just I felt lighter. I felt bruised, but my balls were lighter. And Katie was like, I need to have a look. And straight away she was like, there's definitely a difference. And I was like, really? Can you tell? She's like, 100%.
Like in size, or?
I had a vein that was quite prominent.
Right.
And she was like, it's gone. Like, that's gone. She was like amazed. She was like, this is insane, incredible. So straight away we had that immediate like, okay, something's definitely worked.
Yeah.
And I remember, because I used to have struggles like going for like runs and keeping fit. So if I'd go for a run, and in my day job I sit down quite a lot, I'd find like I'd just be really achy. So 20-minute run, I'd be like on the sofa like feeling a bit achy. And I ignored this for years. But shortly after my recovery, I remember going out for my first run, getting back, and I was like, I can take on the world. This is great.
Yes.
And so physically, like yes, up until that point, I was still waiting to find out did it actually benefit us or not. But physically, like that was way better for my well-being, because I could now go for a run without feeling aches. Katie was like, I got nicer balls, so that's all good.
Yeah.
And just generally speaking, I just knew that there was a positive outcome straight away for my own well-being, and actually that alone was a good enough thing for me to have had that done. Obviously then, 3 months later, we've then had the positive result that we wanted, that was from the back of that surgery. So anyway, I'm keen to know how it went from there on out.
So yeah, I mean, even before the embolisation surgery, Tash was like I had a list of all the things that she wanted me to change, right? And it was from trousers that I wore, food that I ate, how much I drank, stress at work,
Eating nuts.
Yeah, eating like walnuts and stuff like that.
Tomato puree.
Yeah, and like Melanie's famous sperm spatted salad and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
sperm salad.
And egg
Famous
salad.
Sperm and egg salad. Yeah, there was that. Supplements that we had to take as well. There's loads of supplements. Because I was diagnosed pre-diabetic as well for my blood results,
Right.
that was I had to completely change my diet as well. So she introduced me to the glucose revolution. I don't know if you've heard of the glucose revolution, like some glucose goddess. So she's
The
really
glucose
good.
goddess. Yeah, I was a French lady.
Yeah,
she's brilliant.
Super
Really
good. Like, but so my whole even not only did what I ate what I ate had to change, was the order in which you eat it.
Yeah,
so like,
right.
and how that affects your glucose spikes and stuff like that. So literally my whole lifestyle had to change. Exercise, diet, like everything. Even where I kept my phone was not allowed in these pockets.
Yeah,
they had to, and I still now just carry my phone in my back pockets, just out, like they're always in there now. Everything changed. But she became like Tasha, bless her, because it's sometimes that's the only way to change me, is just by keep on pounding me, because she's so persistent. Bless her, she was so stressed out about all of this, like, how, whether there was progress or not. When COVID, when you used to have those like thermometers and you used to put them on your forehead and you could just see what someone was. Yeah. So she bought one of those, and one night she was like, I literally woke up in the middle of the night. She was under the covers with this thing on my testicles, bro. Yeah, on my testicles, like because she was literally. She was like, it's too hot, your testicles are too hot, you sweat in the bed, and and then, like, literally, and so every now and again I'd come home from work and she'd be like, take your jeans off, like, just relax, just let them just hang. And I'm like, babe, like, it's fine. She goes, you know what? Get them out. I'll measure them. If they're too hot, then you have to change. Then you have to put something loose on. If they're not too hot, you can wear what you want. And every time she got this thing out, they were too hot, because they're meant to be 2 degrees. What kind of?
Yeah,
2 degrees lower than what you're.
That's optimal.
Yeah, body temperature.
Optimal, yeah. And obviously that never happened with me, because I'm always wearing skinny jeans and I'm always stressed out with work, and the house was always super hot. But it was always the right, like, looking back at it now, like, it was the right thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I should have definitely worn looser trousers. Should have been less stressed out, and everything that she did was absolutely on point. Like, she should write a book with the amount of stuff.
Sounds like a
legendary
woman.
Yeah, I think we need to bring her on the
podcast.
podcast.
Literally, she's just like, she was unreal.
View.
yeah. Tasha's testicle story. So like, but yeah, so after we went through that, and we had the embolisation, sperm levels went really up, and then my diet changed, hydration changed, everything changed. Within the NHS, so Mr. Ramsey ended up writing the NHS a letter of shame. Like, he
it's wonderful letters.
Yeah. Did he write you any? Because you didn't get any sort of like NHS treatment before.
You're private by then, weren't you?
Yeah, so we had our NHS funded cycles prior to see Jonathan Ramsey, and at that point was fully private.
Right.
But did he get his dictaphone out during the meeting?
Yes,
yeah, I love that.
That is a sick dictaphone. I wish I could. Do you know what? I do actually dictate my text messages now because of stuff like that. I just because and you can, like dear so and so, comma, new line. Like I can just do all of that now. But yeah, he's a wizard with his with his dictaphone. So after that, he wrote a letter to the NHS, and the moment he wrote that letter and sent it off to my GP, I don't know what happened, but just everything just snapped into place at the NHS. Like, so I got to freeze my sperm. Which happened like a few weeks after. I got to see. I don't know what a penis specialist is. What is a urologist? So I got to see like a urologist, and like there's a few parameters around like. Look, this is an intimate podcast, but like, so when I get an erection, sometimes my foreskin is too tight, and sometimes it can like, it's really hard to get back because essentially my dick's bigger than my foreskin, and like this, and that was causing to be a little bit of a discomfort and a problem for me, and I've always had it over the years, and I'd always just lived with it, and you normally just like, it just gets to a point where it just gets quite uncomfortable. Even when it starts getting smaller again, it just doesn't go back to normal for at least 10 minutes, or you have to roll it over and stuff. So I actually got to see an expert about that, and they said they've recommended for me to get circumcised so that they remove the foreskin thing, so it's just a lot more comfortable. And it's just like everything after I saw him, everything just snapped in. So
that's really great. It's
really good.
Yeah.
Literally. And so we were seen by them. Then we ended up having to. He recommended that we go for, because Tasha was keen to just go through IVF now. Well, I think she was keen to just have one round. Yeah. I think we get, depending on your postcode, is this how it works? Like per postcode,
postcode lottery.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah. Postcode lottery.
It's such a shame, but like some people get one, some people get two. Is that
some
right?
get none.
Really?
Yeah, some get none. Yeah.
Between 0 and 3.
No way.
Yeah. Varies on
your area.
None.
Yeah, some get none. Yeah.
So what postcodes are there? Do you don't know what they are?
I don't know.
It's in geographical areas of NHS postcodes, basically. But
that's so shit.
It's not good.
It's
not good at all.
So we get two, and so he said, look, go for one round of private IVF, and by that point the ball's already rolling with the NHS referral. And then if it's in time, then the NHS will kick in.
Yeah.
But if the NHS doesn't, then you can go for another round, and at least you've got the NHS to fall back on. So you've almost got. So we were fortunate enough to be able to save up and had enough for the first round, and so we did one round. And even that journey, just of collecting eggs and stuff like that, is it's so brutal, man.
Yeah.
And actually, as a man as well, like you kind of feel like it's your fault. Did you ever go through that?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
So like you kind of like, oh, look at what I'm putting her through. Look at what I'm putting on through. Look at this situation, and you blame yourself. And then so the first round of IVF didn't work, sadly. And again, that comes with every emotion.
Because I think what you do is when you go to the round of IVF, I think we have this like perception in our minds that right, you've done all that, you've prepared yourself as best you can to that point. The first round's just going to work. Like, I think you literally put every single hope on that. I remember when we had our first embryo transferred, we got like a little picture of the actual embryo itself.
Yeah, we got that,
and we still got it. Like it's part of us.
Journey.
Yeah. And I remember taking that home in the car, and we went home. We sobbed looking at it, thinking that's our baby. That's been transferred to Katie, and that'll be our baby. And I think as a bloke, maybe this wasn't the case for my partner, but as a guy. My sort of point in that was like literally I kind of clicked my fingers, fast forwarded 9 months, and went, right, what do I need to do now to make sure I'm the best dad in 9 months' time, because that baby's going to be born. Yeah. And then the moment that fails, all of a sudden all of that you prepared for mentally, you're like, oh, shit, this is really poor. This is horrible.
Back to square one, back to the drawing board again. And then trying to be there for her. Yeah. And they don't write books on how to prepare how a man needs to be there for his wife. There's no two relationships that are exactly the same. Yeah. You're trying to be the best version of yourself whilst trying to run a successful business, whilst trying to be like this, that, and you've got so many hats that you're trying to juggle, as well as the fertility hat that's just placed itself in your life. Yeah. And try and be there for yourself, and it could be a rabbit hole that you go down, and you just need to avoid that rabbit hole, because it's just like there's no certainty down that road.
You can go straight into self-destruction, and I know I did. I sort of just withdrew myself from everything, my friends and everything else. Wouldn't go to the pub and say, are you going out on Thursday night? No. And you just sort of like go, I just need time to absorb what is going on before you can move forward, and it's horrible. Basically.
Yeah, because you just don't have any mental energy left, do you?
No,
I mean, like socialising is so far down the pecking order at that point, isn't it? 'Cause you're just like brain dead, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're just in like
you just want to support your partner, but that you don't feel as though you're able to support your partner because you're suffering yourself. You know? And it's just so difficult.
Very taxing, which is why like support groups and this podcast and understanding that actually if you are going through this, you're not the only one. Because I think when you go through it, you just feel like you're the only person on this planet that's going through that at that moment in time. And it's really important to know that actually having that knowledge that someone else is going through it, or the fact you can go and reach out and talk to someone, and you know, I'm sure I am very open in that if anyone wants to talk about it, just reach out, because it's
you can reach out to me anytime, you know, and I'm sure you I mean, this podcast just highlights just, you know, your energy towards that sort of movement. So I started vlogging the process and you know, and putting it out on my social media and just normal, because like my way of helping people is always like my way of getting out of stress has always been to try and help someone out of their situation. It helps bring me back into a better place. So like, even if I'm really stressed out at work, I'll maybe jump on my social media and I'll just like do something that's funny, do something that's inspiring, do something that's going to put a smile. And then immediately after I've done that and I post it and I get a couple of reactions, and people message me back and they're laughing or what have you, or they say thank you for this bit and that. That's me just going, right, cool, right, I've got purpose again now. I've got energy back. I've got my energy back. We're moving in a direction. Even if it's the wrong direction, it's a direction. Moving some way is better than not moving at all. So like, and that's what I did with the fertility thing. So I started, and that's what, you know, why thank God you guys have allowed me to come on to this podcast to talk about my journey. But that's what kind of like I put out the normal joking, laughing posts of me sitting in a barber chair maybe and talking to the barber about like, you know, male factor infertility. Turns out he's actually got a male factor infertility problem and he's going through IVF and actually like then while I'm sitting at this chair, the guy 2 chairs down is saying, yeah, my wife's gone through that as well. We're on our 6th round right now. And it's just like the whole barbershop is talking about stuff that the barbershop should be talking about. Like, you know, like,
and you've instigated it. You
know? Well, but we've normalized it
as well, isn't it?
You normalize it, and it should be a normal conversation with people. It's a taboo, like you know. But actually, when you're in, like, everybody knows. I mean, I've got some friends that are barbers, and you know, but your barber chair is kind of like your counselling chair, isn't it? It's like a mini counselling chair.
Yeah, kind of.
So there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to talk about this kind of stuff.
You've got your cape on.
He's fully freshening you up.
He's going to ask you questions. You have to reply.
Yeah. And you might as well make it something that he ain't spoke about all day. Do you know what I mean? So let's just get the testicle conversation out.
This year.
Maybe next time we go for our haircuts, that's all we do.
Yeah, just chat about your testicles.
Yeah. How's your nuts?
Let's go nuts.
So the first round didn't work out. Sadly, and me having to support Tash for that, but we froze the rest of them. I can't remember how many eggs we managed to get. I think we ended up getting between 8 and 12, which is really good, really good. And then so those were fertilized. So the first, and then they grade them, don't they? Do they grade them? Is that right?
Yes, that's a whole other podcast that we need to.
Completely different podcast. But we ended up getting. We were so lucky. We were so fortunate. Like I think we ended up getting like 5 or 6 AAAs. A few B's and a couple of C's. So we were like, let's just like, so the second round we used one of the AAAs, and it's crazy, right? So when they actually put the catheter into her womb and they place it, you actually see on the screen like the like them putting the tube in and then it just popping out, and then you see it being left in there, and then they pull it. It's crazy. So I've actually got a video. Obviously, we now know that my daughter's on the way, but I've got a video that I can show my daughter one day down the line of you actually going from being something so small that the naked eye can't see it, to what you are now.
Yeah,
and that moment, that's
really special.
Crazy.
Because that question will come one day, Daddy. How did I end up in Mummy's tummy?
Yeah.
Well, actually,
let me show you.
Go and listen to this podcast. Ignore the bit about my foreskin.
We'll cut that bit out.
We sorted the foreskin problem out, by the way. But it's just magical, and the technology that is out there now, it's just unreal. Like I was saying this to someone the other day on social. There has never been a better time to be a part of the male factor infertility. Like, you know, community, if you want to call it. There's never been a better time than now. There literally has never been. The research is out there now. Conversations being had. Men are opening up about it. You're actually not a bigger, better, stronger man if you don't talk about it. Like just like straight up, you You need to talk about it. If you're not talking about it, there's a problem. There is actually a problem, and you should probably start looking at exploring that space. I'm not saying that you shouldn't keep some things to yourself. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't give yourself some alone time. And maybe there are some things you might not feel comfortable talking about, like like the length of your penis, or like whatever.
Up with it.
But there are some things that you just really need to open up about, because then you're educating yourself about it, for one, and two. Well, there's a few reasons why. You're educating yourself about it, which is going to make you feel better. You're probably going to be helping someone else out eventually later on down the line, like what I'm in a fortunate enough position to, and same with you guys. You guys are all in a fortunate enough to that. Your whole journey becomes someone else's journey and becomes someone else's truth. And you've now got some beautiful children, haven't you? You've got one child. Yeah. And I've got one on the way. So there is a happy ever after. Yeah. There can be a happy ever after for everyone. Yeah. There's no promise, but there's hope, because I remember go all the way back to 2020, 2021. I didn't think that there was a chance in hell I was ever going to have kids naturally, and I accepted that as the absolute truth. And then actually coming out the other side of it now, like, I've like that. I feel like I'm so much more emotional about it. I don't know if you feel this way. Do you just cry over some stuff that you probably just shouldn't be? You're like,
I'm in bits now. The minute I saw Oliver born, I'm a wreck now.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch a film now and I ball to tears.
Do you know, like, you're watching? I remember when I used to sit down and watch films of Tash, and she's crying her eyes out, and I'm like,
oh, come on.
Yeah, no, I wasn't that bad. But now I'm just like, if I see something beautiful, I literally just take a moment. I'm just like, that is beautiful.
But I think when you've been through,
it's actually, you're allowed to cry. Men do cry.
100%.
You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to be emotional.
My brother just got married recently, and I was like crying at watching him have his first dance with his wife, and I was just like literally standing there, and I'm just like, I'm so proud of what he's created, what he's doing, like how beautiful this moment is. And I'm like, I'm not like bawling, I'm not crying with but it's just enough of like a tear just to be like,
happiness cry.
There's a spectrum of life, right? Of emotion. There's like overwhelm, there's like happiness, there's gratitude, and that involves the physical factors that come with that. And if okay, you can hold it in, but can you cry though? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think that's more impactful, actually. Letting yourself go beyond that emotional sort of block that you put yourself under. It's a mental block, isn't it?
It all is.
Because boys don't cry.
The macho thing,
and all the rest of it. But when you do get to that stage, it's like, oh my God, this is actually really a good, pleasant place to be, if that is a positive emotional feeling
but I think when you go through a fertility journey though, I think it gives you a new appreciation to emotions, because actually I'm speaking from my experience, but probably on behalf of many people that are going through this. Actually, you kind of hit a rock bottom where you really test you as an individual. It certainly tested me in my relationship with my partner, and at the other end of that, we're really strong now. We can talk about anything. There's never a TMI moment between me and my partner, and we're really bonded because of what the struggles we've gone through. And I think sometimes when you overcome something really difficult, the struggles and that passion and desire of really needing a child, I think once you've had those emotions, everything else that you have in an emotional state, you just let it flow, because actually it's all good, it's all fine. And I think it's really great that you've been so open and honest today on this podcast. And I know there's many social media accounts of guys doing similar things but open up. But actually open up this conversation and talking about emotions is something that we don't often talk about in this space. But it is really, really fine to be emotional as a bloke. You could be the blokiest bloke in the world, but if you can shed a tear, that's all good.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, if you cry in every situation, there's a problem in it. Like, come on, man. Let's just be real. There's some things you just really need to just man up about. Like, but at the same time, if you can't cry when your wife give birth, or if you can't cry when you're watching your brother have the first dance with the love of his life, or you can't cry when you're just in a moment where you're just overwhelmed with happiness or something, then I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you, and every man is a man for himself. But just know that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to give yourself that space to just be like, look, I'm not okay. I don't feel okay. I don't know what's going to happen next. I have no idea. I have to trust the process because unfortunately that's just the way it works. There's a process to all of this, and part of that process is going through this moment of just not knowing. Yeah. And one day, the way that I always look at it is that one day I'm going to be able to make sense of this emotion, and I'm going to be able to help someone else out. I'm going to be able to help someone else. Yeah. Get through what I'm going through.
I think you already are, mate.
Yeah, I think it sounds like you've nailed it.
Yeah, you really are. Yeah. You know, speaking so openly is really fantastic and empowering for so many other men. I'm sure we'll get a lot out of this episode.
Mate, I really hope so. Like, I think it's just fun talking about stuff like this with people that you can that you can just relate to, and they understand the feeling. Like so much of what we've spoken about today.
Brotherhood, I think, over the
you two
like a new sperm club, isn't it?
I think we need to get like a tattoo or something like about like just you know.
Well, I think we kind of need to make
a logo.
Test him.
Yeah, because you see like the pineapple thing. I think it is for like the females, they share like that. Is it a pineapple? Is it a rainbow?
No, it's pineapple. We need an aubergine.
I think we do. We need to make the aubergine trendy for today.
Aubergine pins.
I think you should start. I think we should leave this podcast room now and just find the nearest, and you can get an aubergine tattooed onto you. No, I'm not getting it. I was just saying. I think you should start the movement. No, but I think you're absolutely. I think you guys are just absolutely right. You've hit the nail on the head with like just. It's just like everything that you guys are doing here with your products as well, with the stuff that you guys are doing with the testing products. Like, I know we're probably running out of time a little bit, but like just expect because I remember you guys have just started to you're in the final phases of the DNA fragmentation test. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So what is DNA? Because we had that as an option. Mm-hmm. We had that as an option on if this second round didn't work, they were going to go through DNA fragmentation. But I knew that was a route, but I didn't know what it was because my mind was just all over the place. So what is this DNA fragmentation thing?
Well, really what it is about advanced andrology diagnostics, and what that really means is just that what you can see under the microscope is what you get in a basic semen analysis. What really is important is about your DNA integrity. It's about the life that you give to an egg that brings in about an embryo, and if your DNA integrity is broken, you've got single strand breaks, double strand breaks, we can measure it, but it's not often utilized as a diagnostic test. But these new diagnostic tests can really determine whether you've got something really not so good, and if it's not so good, it gives us an idea of where does it come from. And that's the bit about lifestyle, nutrition, mobile phones in your back pocket, or it could be varicocele. We can identify some of these causes of male fertility by the DNA integrity that is there. Quite often, men will have an absolutely normal semen analysis, which I think Toby had.
Mine was relatively normal.
But the integrity of the sperm itself was so poor that it's unlikely to ever fertilize an egg. Even if it met an egg, it'd probably go like, you know what, I can't be bothered today. I'm sleeping on the beach rather than swimming. And that is really what we can measure. And if we can measure it and we know what the root cause of why it's not so good, then we can do something about it.
So it's almost like, is it like the motivation behind?
The best way I can describe it, I go to like my race car analogy, is you could have the prettiest, nicest, fastest looking race car, but if the ECU inside is broken, that car ain't really go anywhere. It's not going to really do much. That's right. It's certainly not going to win a race. So like with, just to put in context of my own story, so I had a pretty normal semen analysis. Obviously, I was diagnosed with varicocele, but I had really, really high levels of DNA frag. So our embryos, prior to checking that, basically we was able to create embryos, fertilize eggs, and I think we had about 8 or 9 on each IVF round, fresh IVF round we had. But what happened was as these embryos developed in towards a blastocyst, they basically were just collapsing and dying. And from what I can gather, you might have to correct me on this because I'm still very much a layman in this space, but basically what was happening was the embryos, as they were getting to a blastocyst, when the sperm's information was telling the egg, right, we're all go now, we're all good, my DNA was pretty broken. So basically the embryo went, well, I don't know what to do. And it just died and collapsed off. Right. So things like early miscarriage.
Is that in blastocyst? Is that
it happened as it got to the blast?
Typically day 3 to 5, isn't it?
Right. Because that's what some people don't understand. So you've got, I know this sounds like we're going back to school, right? Yeah. But you've got a sperm, and then you've got an egg, right? And the sperm, like if you would, with IVF, is they put the sperm into the egg, right? And with
technically, technically that is ICSI.
That's ICSI.
That's
Yeah.
ICSI, yeah.
So if you go down the ICSI route, which some people might have to go down in this, who's listening to this podcast, they select out one of your soldiers, one of your sperms, and they inject that thing very carefully into an egg, right?
That's right.
And then they let that egg just sit there for a while. And blastocyst is when it gets to a point where it's almost like it's fertilized. Is that right?
Yeah,
it's like it's ready to hatch.
It's like an essential place of
it's when the genetic material from both the egg and the sperm meet,
fuse.
And then it starts to replicate. And if as part of that replication, if the messaging is incorrect, or it's broken, or the messaging isn't sort of,
if the blueprints are
mismatched, is mismatched, then the embryo just can't develop,
right.
And therefore it will just go straight into apoptosis. It will just die, wither away. So it's really important to have that DNA integrity absolutely as good as it possibly can do.
And what do you test then? So in your new DNA fragmentation test, what do you need a sperm sample for that, or do you actually put do you put the embryo in there? Like what?
So basically, we just need a neat semen sample. It goes through a process where we mix it with some chemicals. When we put it through what's called a flow cytometer, and a flow cytometer is really measuring the fluorescence of where we've tagged sperm, which is incorrectly sort of messages. It's sort of like the DNA is broken. So we're literally tagging broken DNA within the sperm cells itself. And really what we're doing is, by the high throughput flow cytometry, it's measuring the amount of light of good sperm versus not so good sperm, and it gives us a percentage. And if that percentage is above, say, 25%, it suggests that that sperm sample is at risk of high DNA fragmentation, which means it's going to not perform very well. It may fertilize an egg, but it's probably not going to create a very good blastocyst or embryo, and that may sort of...
So what would be the pathway out of that? Like, just out of it, like, let's say, I think I might have had DNA I think I might have had DNA fragmentation.
More than likely.
I probably did. And I think when we did that, I think we did it out of London Clinic, because it's all coming back to me now. We had that test, and as we were walking the streets of London, in this envelope was the results. And the moment Natasha opened up and had a look at it, she saw that it was a positive result. I think that's what it was. She just started crying her eyes out, like bawling, like literally she collapsed on the floor because she was so happy that it wasn't my DNA. So I think that might have been what it was then. I'm pretty sure, like, I've got it in the notes somewhere. I think we did that, and we figured out, because that was quite an overarching moment for any couple that's trying to go through. That's a really important part of the process, isn't it?
Well, it is, especially if you've got varicocele, because varicocele with heated testicles basically is denaturing the proteins in your sperm, and when it's denatured, it's going to destroy that DNA integrity. Those bases of DNA are going to be mismatched, they're going to be broken, and that's the messaging that your genetic material needs with the egg genetic material to create an embryo. So if it's really poorly broken, then the chances are of natural conception or even conception through IVF are really, really poor. So it's really important that you look at that in conjunction with a normal semen analysis, and then try and work out, why is it broken? And normally it's due to oxidative stress type of issues. So it's about what we eat, what we drink, what we do for exercise, what we do for a job. Those are all cofactors. But if you've got varicocele, it's a medical condition. Yeah. It's a medical condition. Your balls are overheating. And that needs treating.
Because there are some, like, in the blood results, that I think my body, from looking at the hormones, when they look at my body was clearly fighting something from the language that the blood says. It was clearly fighting something, but it looked like it was blocked by something. So the varicocele, it all made sense. If you look at it all together and you collect all the data, it all actually makes sense.
Yep.
So what's the pathway? If you were to have poor DNA fragmentation, does it then become a conversation about potential lifestyle inhibitors? Is that the things that are stopping you from...
Well, it's almost going back and doing what you did right from the beginning. Yeah. I mean, God bless Natasha. She did an amazing job for both of you. She really did.
Yeah, she's unreal.
And this is why your story is so important to us on here, is because you did all the right things before you got anywhere near an IVF treatment. And this is the same if any guy goes and does a DNA fragmentation test and it comes back poor, it's okay, right, go back, see an andrologist, see a nutritionist, get all of these assessments done. Have you got an infection? Have you got a varicocele? You know, what you're doing for a living? Are you taking any medication? Have you got a chronic, inflammatory illness or anything like that?
Or any sort of even an autoimmune disease or something like that,
Exactly.
So actually then have a proper full assessment of your lifestyle, your health and all these other factors, and then find out what you need to do to overcome it. So for you did all of that first, you found out you had a varicocele, you had it treated, and hey presto, your IVF works.
Do you know, my advice to any man would just go out and get fucking checked, man.
That's why we're here.
Do you know the maddest thing? Just get it checked, bro. Like, I've got a friend, I'm not going to name his name, but he's like, I don't want to have kids yet though. I'm like, bro, it's not about when you want to have, because when you want to have kids, you don't want to be presented with this problem. No. You want to know just what things you can do, what there is to work with. Just get checked. Just do the test. Yeah. Just do a test. Go either because you guys, the test team have a sperm. Do you guys have your own? Other than the DNA fragmentation, what other tests do you guys offer?
Nothing at the moment, because really what we're doing with these advanced andrology tests is really offering them for urologists, andrologists, and for the fertility clinics to gain access to them, and it gives them more information. It's this differential diagnosis, which actually then helps you work out a treatment plan for guys to optimize their fertility health, their sperm health, and it improves the chances of a successful either natural conception, or if you need IVF, it'll improve the outcomes of that IVF treatment. So, because we've treated the underlying cause of, what was causing the issue.
Giving you a better chance.
It's giving yourself the best shot.
Yeah.
You only need one good shot.
No pun intended.
No. That's the first pun today. We did the left, right, centre, don't we, without even thinking about it. But you only need one sperm.
Yeah.
That's all that you need.
Just make sure it's the best one.
Out of that 30 million or 3 million or 100,000 sperm that you've got, you only need one really good sperm with full integrity to fertilise that.
And even listening to Mr. Ramsey's podcast, right? The more people that go, the more the clinic has that to satisfy, because it's a volumes game apparently, right? Like it's all about how many people are coming into this clinic to satisfy that one concern. And if more men just got tested, it means we've got more data to analyze. Yep. And with more data to analyze means we're potentially having more clinicians, we're having more clinics, more treatments are going to be available.
Correct.
Hopefully the NHS gets off of its and starts kicking into gear and start getting sorting their stuff out. And then the support comes in, the mental health, the conversations start flooding through. Yep. But literally, if more people don't get tested, then, and start leaving it till last minute, by the time you get presented with that problem later on down, let's say you're a 25-year-old boy now, or man now, and you're like, I don't want to have kids till I'm 30. But if you don't know that you've potentially got DNA fragmentation problems, or you may have an autoimmune that's holding you back, or a varicocele that might be looking like it's getting worse, if you don't know that now, then in 5 years when you might be ready to have it done, and you're with your wife and you're married and all of that stuff, and everything's perfect, and everyone's giving you that nudge, like when you're going to have kids. Do you know what I mean? It's about time you have kids now, and when's the little one? I've even had relatives literally come up to Tash and go, so are we going to be expecting anytime soon? And we're like, we're going through a fertility. How dare you? And obviously inside she's crawling up inside. Because people just making these passing comments. Yeah. But taking it back, in that moment when the time is right to have it, you don't want anything to be in the way. You want to just be like, boom, let's just go. Because women are on a body clock and we're on a money clock, right? So for us, we're just like what you said, I just want to prepare. You said you gave yourself that 9 months, right? I've got 9 months to sort my life out, sort my finances out, and all of that stuff. And women are doing the same thing all the way in the run up to meeting their man. Yeah. And then when they get married, or if they choose to get married, or whatever lifestyle choice they make to become a couple, once they decide that they want to go children, they're on a body clock, because there gets to a point where it starts sort of it declines, and I think Mr. Ramsey said that the research is out there, isn't there? The variable after that is not what we put in; it's how they manage that process moving forward and coming out and going into pregnancy, and the variable becomes their age, doesn't it?
Yes.
And it's just if you almost have a responsibility for you and for your partner moving forward to prepare your body now. So we just need to. So if I could give anyone any advice, even if you don't want to have kids, in the same way as you'd go get checked out for an STI, if you're out there boning every woman that you can find, then go out and get a sperm analysis test and just see where your parameters sit. See how much sperm you've got. Understand motility. Understand morphology. Just get those 3 numbers. What's your sperm count, morphology, motility? If they're all good, cool, crack on, do whatever you need to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's a perfect note to end on, don't you?
I love that. I love that.
Just go and get checked.
Go and get checked.
And get an aubergine tattoo.
Maybe get some lapel badges first.
We'll start off with a
less
sticker.
invasive.
A little transfer.
I think we could start with those bobble hats that you give out to everyone. You know, the testing bobble hats that you get
Stick
on the race
aubergine
days.
on it.
It's
not bad.
Stick an aubergine pin on it.
Love that.
Lawrence, mate, it's been awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I feel like I've done all the talking. I'm sorry about
no,
that.
it's
I feel like you
really
guys have had a
fun.
chance
It's been
to
absolute
ask
fun.
me any questions, but
we didn't need to. You just said all you needed to say. It was awesome.
No, thank you. I've had so much fun here. I really appreciate you guys inviting me down here. It's been really good fun, and I feel like this is almost like a moment of counselling for me. It's been nice to be able to talk about it with 4 similar men that have been through similar journeys, you know, in some ways. So,
and I'm sure many men listening to this and couples can relate to your story so much because you've been so open, honest, and today has been really, really special hearing your story. And I tried not to learn too much about you before this podcast because I just want to hear it really raw. And so much your story resonates for me, and actually is a bit of counselling for me as well.
I think we all feel relieved.
Seriously, seriously, it's been a really, really pleasure to have you on, and thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
And keep in touch, and good luck for the next however many weeks it'll be.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We're past halfway now, I think. So fingers crossed. In the next few months, we'll have a beautiful. Well, in February, we'll have a beautiful young girl to bring. To bring to the table. So thank you, guys.
Cool. Thank you everyone for listening in, and catch up with us soon. Visit our website testim.com, and listen out for the next episode.
Yeah, and don't forget, check your nuts.
Check your nuts.
Check your nuts.